Uh, Everybody on? We got Janet, Scott, Dave, Dario, Chief Scory, Tanner Rubelo, Deputy Chief Calabresi, Deputy Chief Purcell, Phil Renzi, Jason Cohen, and Kevin McCall is just jumping on. So I think that's about everybody. We've got Chief Sullivan too there. So it's been a couple of weeks since we met. I know Janet and Scott have been out to the building. They spent quite a bit of time out there a couple of weeks ago. Thanks for all your help on that, Scott, and the Wakefield Police Department. I think they had a really good day out there. And it's allowed them to progress the design. So today we just wanted to start looking at some of the individual spaces as the design is developing, make sure we're going down the right road. And we'll bring that to the building committee next week. But we have about a month to go till we wrap up the design development drawings. So I know Janet and our team of consultants have been very busy. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Janet and Scott, if you want to start it.
As Shane said, we were at the building for a better part of a day, and we met with both the police and the fire department and walked through all the individual spaces with what we were intending to do. And, we were also with an eye to see if there's any monies that could be saved along the way. So much of the building was built based on the programming. And so there were some decisions that thankfully we were able to easily make that, save a little bit of money in demolition or rebuilding. We also looked at things that we could be reused again, big windows for the at the dispatch center and things like that. So Scott has a PowerPoint. It's long, room by room, of all the spaces that we thought were worth talking about today. So he's going to show that PowerPoint and explain which each one shows, and you can comment on. You don't have to make every single comment or decision today, certainly, but this is where we're going on this, and we can, as he's explaining, and I may jump in to say why we did a certain thing or another thing. So, and they're all the spaces that include, they're not like office spaces, but they include cabinetry or some operations, and certainly the entry point. So let's just get started. And Shane, if you make Scott a presenter, is that possible? Sure.
You should be all set, Scott.
Thank you. All right. Just starting off on the first floor, the first room we have, or the first series of rooms we have, is the general evidence, drugs and seized weapons. Sort of the addition to the building. If you're looking for a location, the first floor here. In SD, we had linoleum floors. Obviously, the high density shelving. During our visit, they had some metal shelvings that we were going to repurpose, reuse. So we included those, and just a proposed layout for drugs and seized weapons, along with some new gun safes. And currently in the set, or the SD, just all three of these rooms had acoustical ceiling tile. So those are the planned finishes for those spaces.
So are we staying with the resilient, or I thought we went to sealed concrete in there?
We can. I mean, this is what we own right now, Shane, and we can decide whether, we want to put a finished floor, we can just go to concrete. Same thing with the ceiling. This is what we own versus, what we want to
Right.
do. There's not a lot of noise down there. The only thing a ceiling might offer is if there's any drugs that are being stored or something. I don't know if that'll help a whole lot. We're more rely on ventilation, but we can say by getting rid of those products if people are comfortable with that.
So Chief, I don't know if it makes a difference here with the floor in there. We can go to a sealed concrete, I think, and it might even be more durable than a linoleum, and certainly to, I don't know what you're storing in there, but to spills or to dings and bangs, it may be better to go to sealed concrete. I don't know if you have an opinion on that.
I think we should just go with the sealed concrete. As far as it's probably cheaper, and I think as long as it's sealed, it should be resilient against any spills or
Right.
anything
Yep.
like that.
Yep, that sounds good. That sounds good. I sent and I know I just sent it on Tuesday maybe, but I did send out the high density storage, kind of folders to sort of see how they'll be set up, and we'll work with you to come up with exactly what you want, because you can configure them differently. I mean, you might want them to act sort of like they do now with open shelving, and you could store boxes on them or containers. There could also be other kinds of options for that. So it'll have, it'll move tracks. We do have, and Scott can point to the columns. We do have some columns to deal with in this building. So we can't put the columns against the outside wall, so they have to be there. So that's the only sort of downside of the space.
So how, Janet, do we determine it? Is it, are we going to have different sizes? Are there going to be, different depths? Are there going to be some
Right.
with shelves, some with
Yeah.
doors, or, or
well, I
some
wanted,
lockable?
Yeah, that's why I sent out those
Right.
things so people could start looking at them, and then we'll have to come up with a definitive layout. We want 30% of them to be this, or 50%, or we could actually, the end walls could have a permanent piece that could have cage closures for weapons or something. Well, we already have a seized weapon area, so but we can work that out. I don't think it makes a huge bit of difference on the cost right now, but Bond can certainly comment on that. And again, they might just want wide open shelving, so it's completely flexible going forward, because they do have the seized weapons area, and they do have a drug area that are separate. So so we can make that choice, and again, I can talk with the evidence officer specifically about what they think is best, and then get the support of the rest of the police folks to make sure that works for them. So
I mean, is that the way to do it? I
Yeah.
can't count. Whatever we have, we've got, 15 or 18 sort of modules here, if you like, shelving units. So
yeah.
So if Janet talks to Chief, your evidence guy, and he can say, hey, I need 3 like this, 2 like that. Is that the best way to do it? Or, do we want to go through with you, Chief, and Deputy Chief? And
Sergeant McCall's on this.
Yeah.
Zoom right now. This is his area right here. This is his area of expertise. So I will let him make any comments on what he'd like to see down there.
Hello?
Yep. We saw you for a second.
You got me now?
Yep.
Yep.
I'm wondering if maybe once we get the dimensions and I started looking through the brochures, there's a lot to choose from, and there's a lot of information there. Maybe we can sit down separately and go through that.
Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely.
does it make sense maybe to bring in, a rep?
Yeah.
I know we may not end up with his system ultimately. But somebody who sells these stuff, makes this stuff might be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
great idea.
I think that's a great idea because, you know, the brochures don't show you everything they can do.
Right.
And so you can, you know, they can talk about stationary units along the walls. They can talk about what it takes to move these things and how you might want to, right now, I believe, well, years ago, you used to store per officer had a shelf or something, something like that. I remember from my notes from back. I don't know if that's how you still want to organize it. You should think about it. Is it going to be per officer? Is it going to be, you know, what's it going to be? So I think you have a lot to think about, but I think a meeting and a general meeting and including the rep would be a good way to start. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So I'll coordinate that with you, John. I think,
Yep.
you know, Donna can do it. There's a couple of them out there. Maybe, I don't know, Dave, if you've got somebody that you use, again, just to sort of walk us through what's available and how you know, the best way to configure this.
Yep.
We'll go
Yep.
through it with the department.
Right.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, we definitely have some subs that deal with this stuff, but I think at this point, if the design team has someone that they're dealing with typically, you know, just to keep it consistent with what their, you know, intentions are, we would just sort of start with that, and we can double check on the back end.
Okay.
Just before we jump off this, someone had mentioned the possibility of deleting the ceiling in here. From a bond money standpoint, I would say that depending on the level of acoustical ceiling, it might actually be more expensive to get rid of it, depending on what the fixtures are and the paint becomes. As long as it's a cheap ACT ceiling, it's going to be less expensive than not having one.
Yeah,
you know, I can just see the lighting getting more expensive if it's not, doesn't have the ceiling. And then you want to paint, do you want to hide the electrical runs to the lights? I think at this point, if it's cheap enough acoustically, just leave it in.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, this isn't a space that's used very often, really, very, very limited use. It might not be very noisy or whatever, but we do have a lot of people sitting right above this. And so, you know, I think there's a benefit too to that. So that's why we have it still in right now. So, okay.
All right.
All right.
Do we need a desk in here?
No,
Yes.
let's wait till he's got more, Scott.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Shane, Scott has more. Yeah, let's go to these.
Connected right to that is the evidence processing area. Just touching quickly on our finishes, we have acoustical ceiling tile in that space as well, and then linoleum in that space as well. This space here is right off the corridor, which is carpet. If we want to switch that, if we're switching this space, which is open to evidence processing, to sealed concrete, we might want to switch this one.
That's an existing space, though, right, Scott?
Yes.
So we're
yes.
going to probably have to deal with existing finishes there.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I just have one question on that.
Yep.
Is that inside the actual evidence area, or is that on the outside accessible to all of the officers?
This piece here is accessible to all the officers just because it's an opening off the corridor. This piece is private. That's the only door into evidence processing. And then through this opening to get to these spaces, that's this opening right here.
Okay, I just have to see it all kind of in one.
Yeah.
Just as far as chain of custody and you know, there are only a couple of evidence officers and.
Okay,
how
Scott,
that's
can you
gonna
go
be
back? Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I was gonna say get another plan and.
Yeah, so these are the spaces we just talked about here. And this is the space that that was just up. This is that space that's off the corridor.
Okay,
And then this is the only access into evidence or general evidence is this door off the corridor.
so to the right of your mouse, that's where the officers will put any evidence into. That's where the temporary lockers are going to be.
Correct.
And then the desk for the evidence officers is to the left on the other side.
Correct.
Okay, and then that door will access everything
Mhm.
from the
Correct.
corridor.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
perfect.
Sorry to stop sharing here. It's not letting me share on my screen too.
Now that looks like it would be the way we need it. So
Acoustical ceiling tile, linoleum, and then these are the pass-throughs we just talked about here. This is the casework and shelving. On this side here, there's a work surface, a space for rollers, envelopes, anything like that, some adjustable shelving. Above that, on this side, on the corridor side, is the lockers. Currently now we have a configuration of one tall one refrigeration, and then a couple smaller units.
And again, that's all part of those booklet, the things I sent. I think it's from Tiffin maybe that that we showed you the basis design, so you can rearrange those lockers and buy those modules to
Right.
fit. So I think you have a picture of one, Scott, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's one of
this
those
piece here.
units. Yeah.
So I guess my other question is, within that evidence area, we would need a computer setup and a
Mhm.
basic workstation.
Yep.
Where would that be?
That surface right there that he's pointing to,
Yeah.
right there.
Okay. All right. So above that, those are the pass-through lockers.
Yep.
And now I see it.
So if you go to that next picture, let me, so that is that, and we would work with you to custom design, whatever that kind of, so the officers would bring in their evidence to that counter. That's a stainless steel counter. And you can see that this one was set up to have, below that surface, there's a large roller of, I think it's a plastic kind of wrap. In all the cabinets, there are different bags, whatever your setup is. And then, so we'll have that set up and we'll custom design that for you. So you can do whatever you want, whatever is however you process your evidence, however you want the officers to do that. And then right next to it,
Yeah.
of course, are the
And-
lockers with the refrigerator unit. So
That looks great, because right now the officers have to do that in the same area where they write their reports. So
no, that'll be in
that'll be
that little
separate.
corridor, at the end of that
Okay.
little corridor. Okay. All right. And again,
Is-
these
is
are one
that-
of those things, Shane, we'll go back with the evidence officer to work out the lockers and the exact layout. This is just the one we were showing. So
Is that countertop big enough for all that?
it's all there is.
Plus
There-
a computer?
It's what is that dimension, Scott? About 5 feet or something?
Yeah, I think that's about 5 feet.
Yeah, that's all we've got.
That's more than they have now. So that
Yeah.
should be adequate.
Yeah, we're in between walls here, Shane, so we don't have a whole lot of room to work.
Right.
But I think it's going to be good. I mean, it's off the corridor, so they're not standing out in the corridor. They've got a nice surface. The lockers are right there. I think it's pretty good. So
Okay.
Okay.
And just, so that's counter height, right?
Yep.
Okay, so it's.
yes,
standing.
yeah. Yeah.
But, so would you be sitting there, Kevin, or standing? You know what I mean? Are we 30?
So I, as the evidence officer, myself and the other officers, whoever's taking in the evidence from the pass-through temporary lockers, we would log it in there, we would process it
Right.
on our end, and then we would move it to whatever particular area inside the evidence room it would go. But we need the computer station there to make the movements in the system as far as where we're gonna assign property or assign property out or whatever we're doing with it. But as far as an officer, when they're logging in whatever evidence it is, that would be functional as far as they can do their report somewhere else, bring their evidence down, package it the way it needs to be done, and then put it in one of those lockers for us.
Okay. So my question was, do you want that at, a seating height or a standing height, that counter?
I think it could be either, whatever works best for whatever we pick, but you could always put a stool there. If an officer was going to be there for an extended period of time and had a lot of evidence that needed to be entered, you know, if it were lower, you could have a chair. If it were standing height, you could have a stool, if they needed it.
Well,
Okay.
I guess that's something that, you know, for you guys to answer. We can do anything.
Okay,
Just-
maybe
just-
we could talk
If
about
we have
that
to
as
change
far
it
as
after
once
we do it, that's, you know, it
Right.
costs money then.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Maybe
trying
we
to,
could talk about that when
Yeah.
when we're picking out the shelving and the rest of it.
okay,
And the,
Yeah.
not the shelving, the temporary lockers, and
Yeah.
when we talk about all that.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, you know, in the end, just as long as we get a height at the end. And we can be flexible about that, including whatever you need on the wall inside. If you have things that you want to mount on the wall, we can do that as well. You know, we can block the
Sure.
walls for things too. So we definitely block these walls for anything in the future. So, okay.
Sounds good.
Yep. Okay.
Next is the women's locker room. This one's changed a little bit since schematic design. This was the original layout here. And since working with Bond and doing the pricing, they've suggested sort of flipping it. So we've sort of flipped. You can now see that the showers over here in the corner, closer to some existing plumbing to tap off of, along with the restroom here. The space, also the finishes, for the most part, are acoustical tile here, moisture resistant, just in case, and gyp in these two spaces, and then ceramic tile sort of throughout. We're reusing some existing lockers, and then currently we're only adding 2 new lockers in this location.
So it's not much different. Again, it's really Bond picking up on all the plumbing, taking a look at that, and we were able to get it to work. Again, door 104A is not in an existing opening, so there's not a whole lot of flexibility. We don't want to start carving new openings in this wall if at all possible. So, okay.
so Chief, have you guys given any thought, because you're going to have 2 women's locker rooms, right?
No,
the
Shane,
end
we're
of
only gonna have one. We have one women's locker room, and the existing women's locker room will become an overflow locker room for the men.
For the men, okay. So is there anything you need in this space? You know, I know I've done police stations where they have a notice board for, you know, the union sometimes want a notice board to post stuff.
Now, we have a notice board in the general hallway. We don't
Yeah.
put anything in the lockers, in the
Alright.
locker rooms.
And so these 4, or is it 8 lockers we're going to reuse? So where are they coming from?
That's a good question. We're not reusing any lockers.
Okay, we're going to have to do the count on the lockers again. I mean, we have the
Yeah.
existing room, the new, and I think we were probably going to reuse the ones from the men's room. We'll have to check on that. It's a good question there. So we'll get check on the counts. Yep.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Another change since schematic design, during our visit with the police department, was firearm licensing and interview. Schematic design here, we were tearing down an existing CMU wall and sort of bumping out firearm licensing. And then the interview was making up the rest of that space. After talking with them, their current firearm licensing seems to be working just fine with them, and they didn't have a problem with sort of keeping the existing CMU wall. We are infilling or taking out the existing transaction window and reusing that elsewhere. So we're infilling just that small piece here. And so since we're not bumping into the interview anymore, we were able to shift that up a little bit and make it a more usable space. Just in terms of finishes, these 2 rooms both have acoustical ceiling tile. There's linoleum in the firearm licensing, which is the existing linoleum as well. And then we'll have new carpet and some casework in the interview room.
And the interroom, I mean, if we can do the casework, and if, you know, we need to cut the casework numbers, we can look at that later. So.
Yeah, right now we're just infilling that little alcove with a couple of base cabinets and a sort of marker board or tack board.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The next space we have is records, which is right off of the interview and firearm licensing that we were just talking about. A small change we made was sort of working on a way to close off the existing vestibule. Currently, we were bringing down the curve. One option that we were exploring was sort of straightening out the curve and how that affected records in itself, sort of opening it up some more. And both these rooms, again, in terms of finishes, have carpet and acoustical ceiling tile in these two spaces here.
Yeah, so one of the reasons we're taking the curve out is because there are mini piles in that area, and there's a bond beam. If you point to the grade beam, there's a grade beam right underneath that. And so we talked about, could we lessen the impact of that and not have to do those mini piles? And this is one way of dealing with it. And I don't think it changes. It might even strengthen the architecture a bit. And the other question or the other issue involved about how you looked, who was sitting in the space and looking at the window, so that when we met with them, there was a conversation about that. So that's why we moved the room 118 to the corner, so that they'd have more open space. You do see the big column in the center of it that we have to deal with. But, you know, again, so here's, you know, possible layouts for that area of space. So.
Do you have
and
an
we need to-
elevation on that?
Pardon me?
Do you have an elevation of how that change would look to not have that curved
Yes,
wall
yeah.
anymore?
Yeah. I'm actually, Phil, I'm pleasantly surprised. So.
And there's no
yeah.
issue with this setback, the non-conforming stuff to square that off in any way?
Is that what about non-conforming?
About not pushing the front of that's the same plane where it ends now?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, you can, Scott, can you get down a little bit lower than this bird's eye, or can you easily? So, you know, it was always a challenge to that elevation about, you know, how you walked along the edge and the curve being more, you know, a real notice point for how you entered the building. And, you know, we were strengthening that confusion by bringing the curve down. This way, with the flat wall, we get rid of some piles, which cost money, simplify the structure, and we make the entry a little bit more prominent along that line. I don't think that's bad at all. I was, when we first, you know, I talked with Bond about this, we were looking for other things as well, but I thought, oh, that's not going to look very good. But I'm not bad about that. It sort of continues the plane of the whole building. If you want to.
It almost makes it easier. I feel people, you know, be less likely to get confused after the reno too, without the curve there.
Exactly. Can you zoom out a little bit, Scott, so we can see that whole elevation plane? So you see that plane is more on the plane of all the windows along the fire department now. You know, so I think it's a win, you know, and we save money. So yay.
Need to save money.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. We'll show that again next week. I mean, and obviously the building committee, the full building committee, but if you guys are not opposed to that, it's a big structural thing too. We don't have to have the structural engineers out there designing many piles, and they had to do the slab and everything. So, and we have to work out the furniture arrangement in this right now, whether, you know, we can get the desk closest to the window to rotate and look out towards the window, or it's more of the relationship that the person works right now where they're looking at the wall and turning to their left when people approach the windows. So this layout is similar to that right now. So it's an awkward It's not a perfect space, the records, we know that, but it's not too bad. And then the office gets the outdoor window, and yet there's still a lot of light coming into the whole records room. So does that make sense to everybody? Is that good?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
You have a picture of this? Do you have anything else on this one, Scott?
No, we
Yeah,
move on
okay.
to dispatch now.
Yeah.
So, another change that we're just exploring, and we sort of discussed this with Bond as well, and got their comments, was sort of, this is dispatch here, this space. This is the OIC for that space. This is a little storage area inside the existing parking garage, which is all of this side here. In the schematic, we had the restroom sort of back here in this space where the existing curb used to be. So exploring.
First thing is, the reason we originally saw this, there's plumbing right behind
Yeah.
the wall right there. Yep. So
Yeah.
there was a request to move the kitchen and any water back into that corner if at all possible. Again, saving money here, trying to look for ways. But we came up with a couple different options. So let's go through those. Yeah.
The original, the kitchen is sort of moved back here closer to plumbing, and that still leaves the toilet and sink. So there is still some trenching with the original design. Option 1 and 1A here are just sort of use the sort of corridor space here to have a smaller kitchen somewhat, but it also moves the restroom sort of closer in line with the plumbing back here. Still a little bit of trenching to get to this sink here, but not towards the interior of the building as much, and keeping the office right there along with storage. And then option 2 is the restroom in the same location off this corridor here with the office and the storage, but now there's a little kitchen alcove sort of closer to the plumbing as well. That sort of hides the kitchen alcove from the transaction window, which is down here a little bit. And I think this is one of Bond's preferred options here as well. I see Dave nodding, yes.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I don't know about the layout for the user groups, but it does seem potentially to be another win-win where it might be it's certainly less expensive on this option 2 than the previous, but it sort of seems like it might be a little more comfortable from a layout standpoint as well.
Yeah. So there are 3. The original programming didn't have 3 positional stations. Do you have a picture of that at all, Scott, at all, or do we not have that one?
It's in the
Yeah, I
model
got-
again.
is-
Sorry.
Have you got anything, Scott, from the dispatch furniture guys? Have they done a layout? Scott Rubelo?
Sorry, Shane, I missed that question.
Did you get a layout, or did you get anything back from the dispatch furniture guys?
He was having trouble finding, guess his company doesn't make corner desks. So he's trying to come up with another plan, or he may not be able to get anything. They do stuff out more for dispatchers that just have a straight desk that wouldn't work for us in that room.
What company is that?
Emails down, it's if I can find it.
Yeah, I'll do some research on who we've used before as well, if we need to go elsewhere.
It's Watson Consoles.
I think they're the main player.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this layout is one we used in Salisbury, for instance, and I think there were a couple of people that made this layout. This doesn't seem out of anything but normal. What I do want to point out to you is, so you can see the overall plan. You can see how there's the big window that's being reused there, and we tried to get the two main stations right focused on that window with the walkway in between them, so that if they need to approach the windows, they have an easy access. And then we had to put a third person in, and that's what this doesn't necessarily include right now, which is why that plan where the dispatch is turned perpendicular with a wall, we get to move all the copier stuff over to that wall up on the opposite side and put the third position in that far corner where it says SQ5. You could put the third position, because that doesn't have to be the angle, that can be a straight line position. So we could put that position there. It's one of the reasons why we worked this one out. Anyhow, you know, we can look at that as an option, but you know, the other thing is the existing door from the from stair 2, you know, has some is restrictive in some ways for the layout of the room. So, you know, right now it was placed because there's offices and storerooms in that back corner. Would you put that door there if you were doing this from day one? Nope. You put it somewhere else, but you know, we're trying not to move doors too. So anyhow, so that's the plan. So you can go back to the individual plans and so
Can I ask a quick
that's why
question,
that,
Janet?
yeah, sure.
For the rooms that are in the garage, proposed rooms.
Yep.
Have you got, we were kicking around some ideas about what the composition of that wall might want to be. Have you given that any more thought? I mean, one of the things that we were thinking was, because that's going to be an active garage, how quickly can we get that to be a safe condition? And we thought maybe pouring concrete for the base rather than masonry would be more efficient. And I didn't know if you guys have given that any thought and what that means.
No, I'm not opposed to that, you know, doing a low concrete, like sort of barrier wall and then anything above. I think we should look at that. I don't know what the mechanical conditions are in there as far as it's a heated space. I don't think we'll have any issues. We will look at that wall from an inside outside garage kind of situation where the tempering of the spaces are different. So we will take a quick look at that. I'm just making a note on that, so that, you know, whatever's happened in the garage, because I don't think the garage is air conditioned, but this space will. So that may require us to do something in that wall.
We thought that might make it easier to overhead brace too, where you could potentially just post up off the concrete.
Yep.
As opposed to trying to deal with the CMU or whatever, and this ductwork, existing ductwork right above this, I believe. So
yeah, there's a lot going on there. So
anyway, that's what we thought might be the most efficient solution for all involved.
Yep. We'll take a look at that.
Okay.
So
you lose a parking space with this, right?
Yes, there is a parking space, but it's not a parking space. I mean, I went over this with Scott Rubelet. I think you walked us through that. It's not used for like big vehicles or anything. So we're kind of recreating that kind of, I'm going to use junk in the kindest of words, a hodgepodge of stuff that ends up there. We'll put that in, we can put that in front. The dotted line that goes off on the angle sort of represents what that shape is right now. So, we can think about what that is. What do they want out of that space? There may be enough room to put a parking space. It's kind of small, but it's closer. So, that's the first thing we looked at it with Scott is, what do you store there? What do you use? And it's not a real parking space, so to speak. Okay.
So does this look good to the police department then? And yes, Scott, I'll try and work with you and see what we can do about that furniture. See if I can get another vendor.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, Scott, do you want to just go back to the previous one or two, just so they can, so that's the first option with just the kitchen. That's what you've been looking at for a couple of years, and just moving the kitchen to the back. That is a challenge for that third position. and getting the water closer to the, the plumbing closer to each other. So that's why we went to the next ones. That one with the kitchenette in that corner, it's restricted by that big column that is right to the right of it. You see that. And, but it does, it does get the, everything out of the dispatch, no cutting in the floor, no plumbing in the walls, whatever. And then the third one gets the plumbing close to each other and keeps it small in the back area and provides that third work spot right there, because now the copiers are on the opposite side of the kitchen wall, and it does screen the kitchen from the public a little bit. So
Yeah, that column's a huge dead corner in those other models.
oh yeah,
You can't even, you put a trash barrel, it's not worth, it's a waste of space.
no, they fill it with something, I'm sure, but and you could extend the cabinet into the corner there if you wanted to just have a surface, but yeah, it's restrictive. But
And
these
can I ask
kitchens,
the-
these are small, Phil. They don't need to be kitchens.
Right, I know, just a
Yeah.
little bit. Can I ask the police, there's a bunch of, in the storage right now, there's a bunch of old seats and other stuff, like pretty big stuff that I assume you guys need or want to keep. Like, will any of these options leave you with absolutely nowhere to put stuff that, like garage stuff?
No, well, some of it is trash. We really have to go through it and figure
Okay.
out what's worth keeping, and what we need to keep, we'll find a spot for.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we don't, you guys can look at this, a little bit more. We'll send you the PowerPoint, like which one do you favor at the end. But if you have an opinion now, we'll take it because there are options for you. Scott, do you have thoughts? You've been in that space a lot with me. And Deputy Chief Calabrese, do you have a comment as well? You know that space really well.
I think the option 2 looks fine to me, and that seems like the one that you and Bond think is going to work the best. I have no issues with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Scott?
we'll open up that space a bit for cars coming in and out, right?
Yeah, they come
Yeah.
right down this ramp here.
Mhm.
Jana, with the other one that had the kitchen, that one, what, if you use option 2, what is that space? Is it just? almost
It's
an-
smaller. It's a little smaller. That one's 8 foot. Is that an 8 foot wide office? And what's the next, the other office, Scott? It's a little deeper and narrower. So, it just changes the shape of the office a little bit. There's not a ton of stuff goes in you remember when we were in the OIC office and we were looking and you said, well, that shouldn't be in here and that shouldn't be in there. That shouldn't be in there. Now you have spaces for some of that stuff, patrol storage radios, stuff and all that. This is really just an office for the officer in charge. It's not a lovely office in that it's, no windows, whatever. But it is certainly, a comfortable size in all cases. If you go to 2, it is a little narrower in width, but 10 feet. And I mean, they're not in that office nonstop. So
You might be able to put that photocopier in that space and buy more
It's-
room to dispatch.
it's in the copier's right there. Right
Like they
there.
remove it in between the office and the bathroom there.
Well, then
Uh,
you'd have to push the run into the door problems. I
Yeah,
don't think there's
that-
enough space. Not in this
Yeah.
option, at least. I kind of like the kitchen rotated. I
I
like the
kinda
kitchen being a little hidden myself.
That's kind of how we have it now, out of the way of. it's
Yeah.
almost Half separated from dispatch the way it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Less disruptive if the water's running or anything being made over there, that I kind of like it in the back.
So are you on option 2 now? We're still on option 2?
Yeah, that's option 2.
And
So,
that's the favored one, correct?
well, that's your favorite one. though.
Well, that was Bond's, I'm sorry, that was Bond's price-wise. You said this was the favored one, correct? Is that what I?
I think that's what, yeah, I think that's what
Yeah, it'd
Bond
be
had
less
said.
expensive because you
Yes.
don't have to bring all the plumbing over there.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, this is minor. The only thing I don't, the way the desk is in this option 2, where your backs to the door, like
Mhm.
that's, maybe we can figure something out there.
Yep.
Instead of having it, we can reconfigure that somehow, so you're not.
Is there enough room in the alcove to move the office wall to engage the column?
Yeah, we can shift it, we can shift it to the left, so to speak, and make it a little wider. And we can also go back another foot if we needed to, or 6 inches. We were just trying to make it as small as possible, to leave as much space in the garage to store the stuff. But we can play with that a little bit. So we can shift the office
We
wall a
shift
bit.
out the wall to the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah,
Make a bit more space in
and
the
look and look at the furniture.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're pushing towards 2 right now. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Just to jump back into finishes, that little kitchenette there, in the dispatch is carpet and acoustic tile throughout, including these spaces as well. Ceramic tile in the bathroom, obviously, but carpet and sealed concrete, or I think it's just concrete in the storage space here.
You want to put carpet on the first floor? That's not on slab there? I know there's, I don't know. I always hesitate to put carpet on ground levels on buildings.
Now, do we have carpet in the conference room though?
Not my office. So I'm just saying that in
Yeah.
general. It's not. my
Yeah.
office. Yeah.
Well, but we can look at it. Unfortunately, we can't put a raised floor in this dispatch room, which we normally do in a dispatch, as we have a raised floor for all the communication stuff. But we can look at linoleum, something like that, rather than carpet everywhere.
LVT is good if the moisture's low, but
Mhm.
it's coming
Yeah.
down. You can get it, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then as for the kitchenette itself, it's a pretty small kitchenette, just a couple upper cabinets, under counter fridge, a sink, and a couple base cabinets, just showing that there's enough room in general for a microwave, toaster oven, and coffee maker if needed.
Yeah, I think those are the prime things: coffee maker and a microwave, probably, and a little under counter refrigerator. I think that's what really, what they want. Okay.
So this is looking at the transaction window side of dispatch here. Sorry to keep jumping in and out of screen sharing here, but I just want to show you where I'm talking about. So we're talking about this wall here. So in this alcove, we have a couple lockers, the transaction window with a counter, a couple base cabinets, and some shelvings, and some mounted TVs, and an area for the pass through into the lobby for packages or anything like that.
Those lockers are reused, correct? Those are the ones that are reused, Scott?
Yeah, I think they're.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have lockers in dispatch now, so we'll reuse those ones.
So how are the people communicating? Is that just a little hole in the glass? Is at the bottom there in the center?
This is the existing transaction window, so I think it is.
It's a 3-part glass
Yeah,
thing.
it's a
Yeah.
3-part glass, and there's a little sort of tray underneath of it to pass anything needed.
Mhm.
Right.
There is a microphone installed on that window.
Yep,
Yeah.
we usually put a speaker microphone thing, so people can talk. So
Okay, so that's existing to be reused, that transaction window.
Yep.
It needs to be tinted a little bit. It's like a fishbowl in there now.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So we have 2 of them right now. You have the one that's hidden in the permit room, it's behind, and then one that's into the current records room. So we're going to reuse the 2 of those and buy 1 new one. That's the plan right now, if it makes sense.
Janet, are those the 2 mounted TVs? Are those the ones that we have for the video around the station?
Yeah, we got to talk about that because, do we have enough of those? I don't know how many you have right now. So you may, typically we get them along the whole top of that wall. Scott, do you have a picture of a dispatch? I think we put a dispatch picture in just to show you what one might look like, a dispatch room, and the amount of TV. So you have to get to us. Is there one in the PowerPoint?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, she did. Yeah.
Yeah, I did do that.
Yeah. So there's a dispatch center. There's angled desks. There's five up there, right now. So, this is a new building though, so we have all the height we need and everything. We can check the height of that, get that ceiling up as high as possible. Maybe we can get more of those.
Because
up
we're
there.
gonna need more than the two.
Yeah. So we'll look at the height of that ceiling and then see how many more we can get in. Those are right up top. You can see the transaction window. There are two windows in that space. That's the transaction window. That's off of a lobby for other reasons, the vestibule. So anyhow, and I assume you don't want any of those on the side walls so people can see those, Scott. Is that correct? You'd only want them on the wall that can't be seen by visitors.
Yeah, I think ideally, but would take what we could get if we had to mount.
Okay.
Or
Do you think you might have about 5? Or
I
how
think
many?
5 would be a good number.
Okay. We'll see what we can fit in there. Okay. That, by the way, the lower picture is the 5th position, or the third position in a dispatch center. So that has 2 of those angled positions right there. And then that's the third, which runs straight, which is pretty much what you have now. You have that third position, sort of a straight desk. And that's why we rearranged the room to do something more similar to that. So, okay. All right.
The pass-through, so is that a swinging door? Is it a drawer? What?
That thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I forgot to send a picture of that. I'll get a picture, but you have the little slots for paper, but you don't have something big enough to take anything larger. So that's what that provides. I'll get you a cut of that. Okay.
Does the police department have a preference, or have you seen something you liked before?
For the pass-through?
Yeah. That's like a mail. Think of it
that.
like a big mailbox. So if someone's bringing you something or a delivery, they can put it in that pass-through. You don't have to come out and get it. And that's what we've been doing lately. You don't want it, you don't have to have it. But we're putting those in. So
It'd probably be nice to have for small deliveries. I just haven't seen one before, so I couldn't.
okay, we'll get you a cut. Get a cut of that. Okay. And as far as the layout of the base cabinets and the shelving, it's flexible. If we have to put, we have to put screens up higher, we can get rid of some of that shelving. We can double stack the screens if we have to. We'll give you some options about where to put all those screens. So, okay. All right. Okay.
Now moving on to the lobby. So just this is dispatch, the one we were just talking about. This is the windows to records in this space. This is the entry off the vestibule, the window for the fire department, and these are the 2 existing doors, the one that goes to the fire department and one that goes to the assembly space. These elevations here are just showing all the plaques and memorial items that were on the wall. We try to find a location for them in this layout here. We have the 2 shields, the defibrillators. In these alcove here, we have the med cabinets and the sharps. There's a bench here. Above the bench, we have the memorial plaque for the police department. This location here is the mailbox that didn't change. That's where it is originally. This wall is there's a giant map of, I believe it's a historic Wakefield map. And then in right above the drinking fountains here, we have the fire department's memorial plaque.
It's a lot to get in. It's a lot to get in. So,
for finishes, we had schematic wise, we had some wood paneling, ACT, and porcelain tile for the floor. So we tried to just distinguish what should be wood paneling in this. Each one of these alcoves, we have full height wood paneling. Everywhere else, we have the sort of chair rail that you detail with wood paneling below.
so the last time you had full walls, that
Yep.
was the when we were talking about that. So.
That's all I had for this space. I don't know if there's any questions.
So you've inventoried and found a
Yes.
spot for all those memorials and plaques in the corridor and the
Yep.
lobby.
Yep.
Yep. We don't need an ADA height bench, right? You got those benches in front of the transaction windows.
I don't think so, but I'll check on that. I mean, we'll set it. I mean, we'll set the height at the required height.
Right.
From ADA. And I think we'll take a look at that now, and if we have to set it lower or do something different, we'll let you know about that. So.
So that there's no pass through at the fire department or the records.
There's no what?
No pass through for fire department.
Oh
or
yeah,
records?
yeah, there is. There is.
There is. Okay.
Yeah, we're using one of the windows. Scott, which one are we putting where?
So this is the existing one currently at records, and this would be the one at the firearms licensing, and then the fire department here would have that would be the one new window.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were big. They're big, Shane, really big. So
It's about 5 feet wide.
Yeah. We were going to do slightly smaller ones, but we're going to try to reuse, so they'll all be the same.
But just if I don't know, in records, are people bringing in documents, receiving documents? How are those documents transferred from records to the public?
Pretty much the same way, right?
Fly them under the window.
Yeah, through the window.
Okay, so they can just be slid under the window. We don't need a bigger opening like we do with dispatch.
No, I don't think so. It's really paperwork. They're looking for records or doing record requests or getting paperwork to them. So, and if we have to step outside for that, there's no room on that wall, Shane, to add something else, honestly, we're at our limits. I guess we could put that record one over at the fire department and put a little window in records if we had to put a box. But not sure that's the way to go. What you need.
Okay.
Yeah. But the department should comment. So
I think it's fine if records doesn't have one of those pass-throughs. Right now they're taking deliveries, but it really, all they really need it for is for paperwork, so they should be fine.
Okay. This is lots of little adjustments to this space for folks. I don't think anybody really looked at it in great detail before, but now that we have all the openings set for the most part and all the plaques and needs and everything, this is the most comprehensive look at what that lobby would look like. So,
Dan, at the fire department window, is that have some ballistic protection to it?
Yep, it'll be the same kind of protection as the other windows,
Okay.
chief.
And you're showing a bench next to the window? Is
Yep,
that-
that's a bench so that, anybody that comes in has to sit down. You have two benches right now, sort of in the corner when you first come in. We're going to have a built-in bench there. So if someone needs to sit, they have a place to sit while they're waiting to speak to you or they're waiting to speak to the police department.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll also, I think there probably will be a telephone located right, sort of like
Yeah.
you have now. You're right there for the fire department since they're not a 24/7, but they are there 24/7, but there's not someone in that office 24/7. So I think that was one thing we heard when we were there.
There's a phone around the corner at the fire door.
Yeah, and we'll
So-
move it so it's it's direct to the fire department, and so we'll move it into a location that's very clearly the fire department. Okay.
Yeah, can I ask a question about that? That door for the fire department looks so tucked in. Like when you're walking in that hallway and walk straight, your dispatch is going to catch your eye. Like
Correct.
just the signage on, I imagine the bench and the fire department window couldn't be interchanged at all because of that beam. It looks like there's a square beam right there.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what that is.
So to push it back into the corner a little bit? Is that
Well,
what
it
you're
looks like
saying?
it's in the corner now. Like, and I don't know if I'm just imagining someone walking through,
And missing the fire
how many
department?
times they're going to miss the fire department, or maybe that's good. I don't know.
Well, I think there'll be some signage too. And we're talking, Scott and I haven't really gotten that far with it, but there may be some signage that, really says this is the fire department. And this, because right now, if anything, you have convoluted signage in that space. So many signs telling you to walk this way, do this, pick up this phone. We're going to try to clear that out. Obviously, the dispatch at 24/7 is going to be the most prominent thing. But we'll have to do some signage, whether it's projected off the wall or whether it's ceiling mounted. We'll have to work that out. Yeah.
We need to make that very clear because records is already getting
Yes.
overwhelmed with everyone looking for the fire department goes to records.
Records,
Now
right.
It's going to be dispatched that we really don't want to interrupt them. And we
Right.
can't have everyone looking for a fire permit going there first. We're getting
Correct.
directed over. That's why they're convoluted, but that's why we made those signs.
Yeah, no, it's a really confusing lobby, and this will help clarify it. And it'll take a little while for people to get used to the pathway, what's right in front of them versus where they need to go, which is permitting and fire department. And again, not a perfect lobby, but I think it's better by a long shot. But
We
it'll,
have a window right off the lobby now, so it should be pretty obvious.
yes, it should. Yes.
Nobody should be really, there should be very, very limited traffic going through that door into the fire hallway.
No, there should be any, unless you invite them.
They won't need them. Yeah, they won't need it.
And we talked to the fire department when we were there. We talked to the administrator as well, and she understood how it was going to work. And she seemed comfortable at the time, and she was most concerned with people have access to the corridor, and they will not. I think it's better because when somebody has to talk to somebody, they're stopped right in the lobby. They don't pass anywhere beyond that line unless they are invited. So. Okay, next, where else are we? Are you guys comfortable overall with this? Phil, Chiefs?
I think Phil's point's valid. I just like when you walk in and it's straight ahead and you see dispatch, the more you can make that fire window stick out.
It's big. It'll be big.
Yeah.
And whether it's coloring, I mean, we have
That's what
wood
I'm
going
thinking,
up there
maybe some
now.
red coloring around there or something.
It could be, there could be some coloring. We'll work on that.
Yeah. Have you ever used colored ceramic in the floor to give people a pass?
It could be on the
Disney
floor.
World, I say that, I'm kind of joking, thinking of an amusement park, but a blue line to dispatch and the red line 93 to fire department,
Yeah, well, dispatch is sort of, I mean, overall, but we'll look at that. I mean, I recognize it's going to be a problem. It's not going to be absolutely perfect, but it'll be pretty clear. And I think, color may be important, red and blue and, maybe it's a something, maybe there's a little drop in the ceiling there with light, there's other ways of telling you to stop and look. Okay.
All right. So up on the second floor now, this is the roll call room. acoustical ceiling tile. We have a linoleum here and just a smart board and some tables and chairs currently for the setup.
That's exciting. Anything?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Um,
Right. Oh.
Do the police get mail? Do they have, cubbies or anything where they get mail? Does that happen in this room?
There is a mailbox on the corridor. I think
It's in the corridors, Shane. We're
Yeah.
reusing the one that they have, and it's in the corridor.
It's right here. The lunchroom is next, but it's right here off the lunchroom.
Okay.
Speaking of the lunchroom, for finishes, we have acoustical ceiling tile, linoleum.
Because if you could just go back to
Oh, sorry.
roll call.
Yep.
Sorry. Is there, so do you guys have TVs in there, or is there anything you need?
What did you say, Shane?
We have the drop down screen. There should be is that what the SQ13 is?
No, smart
That's
board.
a smart board. We do have a drop down screen.
Okay.
Do you want to keep that, or would you go to a flat screen now? I'm not sure anybody does.
I would like to use both the smart board and the drop down if we could.
So maybe that's something we'll talk to Todd about. Is Todd on here?
No.
All right. So maybe that's something we just circle back with Todd and sort of what's the latest and greatest that people are using in terms of flat screens or projectors.
Okay.
We're seeing more flat screen stuff than, but we can put a pull down screen that's recessed, and you need it, you have it. So, okay.
Right off of that, or right next to that space, is the lunchroom. Acoustical ceiling tile, linoleum for those finishes as well. I tried to fit a couple tables and chairs in here. We have just some cabinets and a refrigerator. You can sort of see 3D of what that might look like. It's a little bit bigger than the current kitchen that was in there now, so.
Yeah, and that one, the original plan had it that against what I'll say that it's the east wall up top, and we've shifted it again for plumbing concerns.
Yeah, thank you.
Janet, are we losing the stove and the dishwasher?
Oh, there is no dishwasher shown in that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We should add the dishwasher. I think we're going to buy new. We should make sure of the quality of what you have left. I know the stove is not
tiny.
great, so we got to get a cooktop. And you asked for an oven in that. Did you ask for an oven? Do you need an oven?
I think it does get used occasionally.
Okay, cooktop, oven, dishwasher, and fridge, microwave. Okay, we'll adjust those to include all that. Okay. Okay, next.
Across the way, we have report writing, and then this corridor. Let me switch over to the model so I can show you where we're at. Sorry about this.
I'm just happy we're still online. Comcast has gone out in our area like a dozen times in the past couple of days, and it was out early this morning. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we get through this.
Yeah, so we just did roll call. This is lunchroom. This is the alcove we were talking about, Shane, for the mailboxes. So this is report writing in this existing space here, and then the corridor into the new addition for the offices is where we're at. Sorry to keep switching on you. So for report writing, we have an existing copier to be relocated, just some caseworks, carpet, acoustic tile. That's sort of the layout that we're showing right now. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 upper cabinets and a work surface at each one of these little alcoves here.
So that secondary one, not report writing, but that corridor connection, that's sort of a space they don't have right now. So it could be anything they want. More work surface, more cabinets. You know, you could put the copier out there. I mean, you can do a lot of things. You should really think about what you want to do there. So
at report writing, do you guys have desktops? Do the officers use laptops?
oh,
Desktops.
So how many stations will you need? Will you have 4?
4.
Okay.
we have plenty of room for that. Yeah.
Right, we'll just coordinate the IT and electric with GGD.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So across, this is that corridor we were just talking about. So across the way, we have the lab. Reusing the existing fume hood. It's sort of a change from last time was there's a slightly more casework in this room than there is in this current layout. And the fume hood was located over here. We sort of relocated it to help with the connection to an existing exhaust duct on the floor above. And then in talking with the detectives, a sink. I think this is actually supposed to be a double sink now that I look at this. So I'll revise that because they did request that, but really they were just looking for some work surfaces here. And then here they were looking for some space to plug in iPhones and iPads and things like that.
Yeah, and these interesting, the amount of power they need in this space has increased dramatically in that. I didn't know this, and I think that they might have an iPad plugged in there or a computer for months at a time that has to stay fully charged. So evidence-based, and so they want as much power on tiers, maybe even some shelving that they can slide these things into. Scott, you remember that? I don't know if I'm representing that well enough, but I think that's the reason we went with that layout right now. When we were in there, I think there were at least 6 different electronic things plugged in, and they were all over the place. So, so the lab is more than the fume hood and prints, but it has that component piece now to it. So none of that cabinetry is reusable though. It's in god awful shape. It's falling apart, literally falling apart. Drawers are missing, fronts are missing, cabinets are broken, nothing worth. And it's just plastic laminate. It doesn't need to be anything special. So it's, but it's in really tough shape. So
That might be a good thing. One of the things I wrote down as we're talking that we'll have to do as a team, Janet and Shane, is make sure that anything that we're being reused and moving works with the phasing, right? If we don't have enough time. The cabinets is a great one. We probably wouldn't have enough time between phases to relocate it anyway.
Right. And the question certainly becomes the fume hood. The fume hood is almost 20 years old, should be fine because they don't use it that much, but we do want to make sure it's working. That's what we heard. So, can you move it successfully? I hope so. But the cabinets are in terrible shape. So that was an easy one to figure out. So, okay.
All right. Moving along. Right next to the spaces, we have patrol storage and detective interviews. Sort of revised from the SD set is in talking with them, they didn't seem to want the one-way mirror anymore, so we're not reusing that anymore. For the most part, they rely on the security system and they sort of watch it in their office on the big screen. For finishes, we have carpeted and acoustical tile, linoleum in the storage space. And we've saved some room for items like the gun cabinets, 2 lockers, the key box. that would sort of go in here, as well as some adjustable shelving.
So I had a big change order on a job a few years ago, in an interview room. They didn't want light switches. They didn't want thermostats or anything like that on the walls, because if somebody's left in there and they're not happy, they start smashing stuff. I don't know if that's an issue, Chief Scory, if
I haven't heard of that being an issue. If somebody's in that interview room, it's more likely than not that somebody's with them.
Right.
That's the first I've heard of something like that. You know, we have the current
Yeah, but-
interview room, we have a countertop with some items on it, and we've never had issues.
And you have an interview space off the off the detention area, correct?
We
Um,
do.
it was detention area where this was. It
Yeah.
wasn't the detectives. Yeah, that, you know.
Yeah.
No, the
They're
interview,
going to smash anything they can.
the interview room in the detention area, all there is a couple of chairs and a table in there.
Yeah.
Janet, can I ask, there's
Yeah.
a bunch of people here at the PD that have to have something else, they have something else scheduled for 3:30. How much do we have
Oh,
left?
Scott, you've got like a zillion slides here. I mean,
Yeah.
why don't we, we've done a lot of the important ones. So let's we can go back and look at these and have, but we can just go through the highlights and then we can detail. I was
Can we
worried
just
about
schedule
that.
another meeting? Sorry, Janet, can we just
Yeah,
schedule
no.
another meeting?
Yeah, we can schedule another meeting
I didn't
too.
even know we had one today till this morning, to be honest with you.
Oh.
So I didn't plan. I'm glad someone said something. I have an appointment this afternoon. I would have blocked out more time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to let everyone know Scott is leaving. He's not leaving. He's in the office, but he's going out of the office for a couple of weeks. He's in the Army Reserve, so he has his process that he has to go through. It's coming up, so I want to get as much of this done before he leaves. So if we reschedule, we're going to have to do it right away, or we'll just do the best we can to incorporate it into everything. But let's kind of fly through this. We'll skip the smaller spaces. Detective storage. Now, this is one room I do want to bring up. Scott, do you have? Oh, yeah. So the detectives asked if we could save the toilet room that is in that area generally right now. Do you have that in plan at all, or do we? Are we? Yeah. So the
No.
reason was that when they bring up people to interview, they have toilet. They're on their floor by themselves on the third floor, or the uppermost floor, and the toilet rooms are right opposite them, and they have this nice little movement pattern. In the new plan, they're on the main floor and the toilets are down at the end of the hall. And so they asked if that toilet could be saved for those people to come in. We bring it up with the committee. So it sits right there, right now. So is that about the same exact location, Scott, or pretty close?
Yeah, I think we just, we engulfed this closet as well.
Right. So that's what we'd be saving, the toilet room that's in the chief's office. So something for you to consider. We haven't done anything with it yet because again, it just came up but it's a comment. If that's something acceptable, they were willing to give up their storage area because they felt they had enough storage space within their lab and within their own workspace, which is a little bigger than the one they have now. And so they were comfortable with that. So that's up for consideration. Let's skip ahead and say what else we have. This is and that's the detectives area and the family services, general configurations. Finishes, not a big deal, nothing you haven't seen. Next, I just want, and there's okay. Okay, here's the space. This was part of the conversation on the upper level about where the walls were located and where the doors were. So this is the first time that Scott, you can explain, but what we did, but this these were asked while we were there if we could make offices bigger or smaller, storage bigger or smaller. So
yeah, we just sort of shifted the two walls over a little bit from this sort of rather large storage space to give a little more room to this office and the sergeant's office here. So we just adjusted the doors openings a little bit.
Yeah, they're new openings, so we can place them where that's where the evidence rooms are right now. So there aren't any doors, just except for the one with the 307, I think is the existing door.
Mhm.
The other ones are new. So we can place those doors wherever we need. So I think this gives them a future good office space, plenty of storage and a decent sergeant's office. And then next we'll fly.
This
Yeah,
one we
this
did
one.
change a little bit. This is the storage office. Dead storage currently, but we sort of just closed off dead storage, so we didn't have to modify this existing roof hatch. And I'm just showing that you can it's still office size roughly here for the,
So there is a hatch with the ladder going up the wall, and we didn't want to have to redo that. It's another money saving thing here. And I think you get, again, the police department needs to comment about this. We did talk about it while we were with them, so they need to look at this to make sure this is okay with them. But I think with the office on the other side of the hall, that we made more office space. I think office like that one, that you're picking up the things you need. A larger office, smaller office. Okay.
conference room.
Nothing big there, same
Mm.
as before.
Deputy chiefs and the storage, adjustable shelves, carpets, sort
Yep.
of the same. This is the kitchenette right off the corridor there. Similar to the other kitchenettes, no refrigerators, but there's a sink, base cabinets, enough room for a microwave, toaster oven, and coffee maker.
I wonder if we should put an under counter refrigerator in there.
Mhm. Yeah, there's room.
Okay.
These are the offices. We did adjust these a little bit to make them a little bit bigger, but that was the only thing that's really changed since schematic.
Yeah, and Scott knows all about door swings now, so he can explain it. But it's all together. We tried to shift. These are all existing window openings. We're cutting the windows down, so we can't play with the locations of those. So they're not ideal, but they still have to meet AAB requirements for push and pull. So that's what these doors do. And so I think they're okay now. So they're as big as they can be. Their offices are as big as they can be. The doors are in the best location we have to work with, and that's it. So, okay.
And I think this is the last space here. The chief of police space, general configuration, desk, small table and desk, and the bathroom ceramic tile and carpet in both of those.
Okay.
Chief, don't hate me, but didn't we talk about getting rid of the chief's bathroom during one of the list talks?
We did talk about that, and then we agreed that it's a much necessary item that can't be eliminated.
Okay.
Yep.
Just making sure someone talked to you. Okay.
I know we flew through the end of those, but they were the simpler of the spaces, so to speak. Not really minor wall adjustments to meet program. All of the corridor walls, Scott, you could go out to the corridor wall. So if you remember in the schematic design, we have bumped the corridor walls out a bit to pick up some more square footage. We took all that out. So we left the existing wall where it is. It didn't really, we talked to the people when we were there. It didn't really affect the spaces. All in this case, it's west of it, but I'll say south on the sheet. So originally we were bumping walls out to accommodate the program a little bit better. But from a cost point of view, there's no, we looked at each of those spaces and looked at the ramifications on each one of those spaces, and we don't have to move that wall anymore. So yet another cost savings that we built in. So, our meetings up there were about two things. We're getting the spaces right and getting looking for ways to save some money on the budget. So we're not taking, and that happens on both the second and third floors. So, okay.
But I think we did say we were redoing all the finishes in those corridors, right?
Yeah, we're refinishing and we're
Yeah.
cutting lots of openings and moving openings and we have to refinish it, but
So a lot of those walls, some of those walls have photographs. There might even be some memorials or plaques on those as well. Did you look at those while you were there?
we didn't. There's plenty of space for all that. The one thing we did look at was the chair rails. Everybody now knows where the chair rail is. We have plenty of chair rail that we're going to be taking out in spaces, and we're going to restore it and reuse it to infill the pieces where it's missing. There is no chair rail on the topmost floor now, so we will not be putting anything back there. It does exist on the other floors, and we will be piecing into to match. But we have chair rail that we've really taken out of the lobby, and we won't be reusing that. So we kind of measured it. I can't remember, we were taking dimensions of it, and there's a lot of it that we think should be able to fill in the gaps so that we keep that. So we did look at all that as well when we were up there. So, but there's plenty of wall space for whatever.
Okay,
Whatever.
we take that down, store it, paint the walls,
Yeah.
and put it back.
Exactly. And on the lowest level is the I think if you go to the bottommost level in that far left-hand corner, right there, I think is where they have the, is that, am I correct? Is that where you have your union sign board and things like that? Is that correct, Deputy Chief? In that back corner there.
Maybe gone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can, but that is something. I
Um,
think it's a class
There-
case.
I think there is a vending machine down there, John.
There's
Do
a, yeah.
we have a spot for that? Will that go right back there? Stay
I don't
there?
know. I don't know where we're going to put that one. I think, the question is, do we try to relocate it up in the kitchen area, or do we get rid of that closet there and leave it right where it is? So
Does the police department have any preference? Leave it where it is, try and get it back up closer to the kitchen,
it's noisy, isn't it? Is there something about it that something that-
refrigerated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can get a little bit noisy.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's one up in one of the hallways, interior hallways. I don't know if that's an option or not.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking
Stairwell.
coordination for
I meant
power and
like the
data.
the stairwell. The fire department has one in the stairwell by the gym. I don't know if that's if there's another spot.
Yeah. Yeah, we should keep vending machines out of stairwells. My own personal opinion. Powered things that are in egress pathways. Don't like that. But we could take that little 106 closet if we had to. We can look at making that a little smaller, making sure the vending machine fits in there, but you have to be able to get to the pathway to this door. So we'll look at that. Okay. I think that touches all spaces. Every space that has furniture, cabinetry, or that we made any changes to or adjustments. I think that's everything. We'll send this to everybody so they can look at it in detail. But I didn't hear anything bad about anything. I mean, everybody felt. I think everybody thinks it's in pretty good shape. Joe, you're the only person who missed the entry sequence changes. So if you want to hear those, we can review those. But does anybody have any questions or concerns, comments?
No, I think there's pretty good. Just the fire admin office. So
Yep.
we looked at that.
Oh, can you go onto the upper level and get into that space? So the one thing, oh yeah, we did make a adjustment there. So that's right now the existing wall. Do you have the existing? Hold on. So right now there's a little recess in her transaction desk is right there. So and there's a panel, electric panel of some sort opposite the toilet. Yeah, on that wall right there. So we met with them in there, and Deputy Purcell, I think, was on that call, or I was in there. I don't know, Chief Sullivan, you were not there that day, but we came up with this just adjusted plan for where those doors were going. And so we, the panel's still accessible, the wall is still there, and then we're just going to pop that, get rid of the transaction counter and move the wall right there. So and keep, and the question becomes, do we keep both doors or just the one door? Something to ask if you need both of them. So
I don't think we need them both.
Okay, which one would you like to get rid of? Let's get rid of the new one, because then we don't have to change the door opening or buy.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
so
that's
we'll
fine. Yeah, we definitely don't need 2 doors there.
Okay,
And I'll give her more wall space.
yep.
So you're not gonna push that wall out to the corridor, is that correct?
No, because we have an electric panel. We have a panel on that wall right there.
Yeah.
If you come out to,
Yep.
yeah, so we'd have to deal with that. So we'd still have to make a niche for that or something. So we walked the space with Deputy Purcell was there, and we debated, how to do it, and that's what we came up with. So
Okay.
I think we decided to keep this door, the door to the left, because it's existing.
yeah,
We were gonna remove, just like you showed, we were gonna remove that door where your cursor is now. to
yeah,
the right.
yep, yeah.
That will give us more space, eliminate that door. And then, that's the best use of the space, I think.
Yep, yep.
Nice
So
and
we can
easy.
get rid of that second door.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, gone. Look at that. So in live action here. Okay, so that was the only adjustment we made, and that was for the well, we were looking at multiple things. We got a bigger window opening to match the and the panel and the door location. So
Yeah, that door is there already. It's just an existing door to remain.
exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe we could put at some point down the road, we could put some kind of display cabinet in that area where the panel is.
Yeah, the question becomes, if you're thinking of doing that, the wall to the right of we could push that wall to the right a little bit so that there's a place right there for a display case and build that in now, because I don't think there's ever going to be space to the left of that door because of the panel. You'll never be able to build anything in. So if you want to display in the future a cabinet, we should move that to the right.
All right, we can think about that. We don't have to make up.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Shane, do you have anything else?
No, I had a couple of housekeeping stuff if we're done with this.
Yeah, Joe, do you want to see the new entry sequence? Now that you're on the phone, what we did with the curved wall? We are going to show it to the committee today and then bring it up next week.
It's okay if you bring it up next week, that's fine.
Yeah, but we're just, we're taking the curve
Yeah,
out of the lower
I
section.
saw a little bit of that.
Okay, and
Yeah.
there's a gray beam, and then we don't have to deal with the mini piles potentially, and it
Okay.
seemed like a win-win for the project. So
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's fine. We'll bring it up to the committee next week. All the rest of this as well?
well,
you-
this is a long presentation, so I think this is a real detail-oriented thing. I don't know if we need to go space by space if the committee is
No, but I
okay.
think the important rooms, the dispatch.
Oh, the lobby,
area-
the dispatch. Yeah.
Yep.
All the
Yeah.
little details, I don't think we
Not the
need
little
to see.
details, but the bigger picture.
Yep. Yeah,
I think
this
would
is a
be good
change.
for Next week. All
Okay,
right?
this is a big change. The committee all should see that.
Yep.
It's not a huge change, but it is. And we are looking at the wall sections right now, bringing the insulation down into, and this is for next week too, or the next meeting, bringing the insulation further down to meet code and things like that. So that huge concrete wall that was a beam, it doesn't need to be that big. It can be smaller down below grade. And so we're looking at all that right now. So as part of this package.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right.
Yep. So Shane, we're done.
Okay, just so a couple of things. We had talked about testing the mastic on the foundation walls. Do we still want to get them all right to do that and see if the DPW can,
Oh, dig a hole for him? Okay.
I think based on where the way it's currently documented, that would be good, because we could potentially take it out of the next estimate, right? Because it was assumed to be asbestos, and if we find out that it isn't,
Okay.
it might save 10 grand or something.
Okay. I will contact him.
So if you can contact him and see if we can get the DPW.
Yeah, to see what it involves and then see how much of a hole we have to make to do it. Yeah.
I don't think we ever got anything from the exterior consultant. Did he issue a report?
did. Don't know. I know that Scott's read it. Scott, yeah, we'll send that over. Yeah, I apologize. I thought I had sent that. So, yeah, we have that.
You guys have carried some money for a hydrant flow test. Do we
Yeah.
talk to EGD to see if we need to do that?
I will contact them. Since it's already there, the question is, do we need it for the additional spaces?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I sent you over, I can't remember if I sent or David sent us the comments on the SD drawing review that Bond did. I think a lot of the response will be in design, but if you could just respond to those so we can.
Yeah, I mean, Scott's been keeping track of them, sent them out to the consultants, and we've been focused on trying to get all these interior things done and the measuring, and some of them don't have relevance, or they'll be folded into sections and things like that. But we'll get your response.
If that's your response, that's fine, because I'd like to get that closed out so we can put the SD to bed.
Okay.
That was just my couple of things.
Okay. All right, everyone.
So I think we're all set with the power and light company, and I got to follow up with Ben Cristofaro about the vestibule. I haven't heard back from him. I sent him all that information.
Okay.
Janet, it's Phil. Could I see the building envelope report? And is that okay for me to read, or do you guys? I don't know
sure.
what the chain of command is on the stuff. That's why I'm asking that.
No, I mean, we'll send it to Shane, and
I'll push it out to everybody.
Yeah, and
Push
then
it out to everybody.
yeah,
one
and
of
if
the larger meetings, Shane had mentioned that HVAC scope was sort of when we were going through the list of things. I think some things may have been missed, or there's just. I just wanted to see if HVAC for this project has been sort of streamlined and figured out in regards to like when do we see like the next stage that you guys show sort of any changes we made the last meeting where we deleted a bunch of stuff.
yeah.
So
Well,
do we have
Scott
another
is
meeting, or?
well. No, I don't know, but Scott is working with GGD on mechanicals, and specifically to get that resolved. Or TU2, I believe, is the unit, if I'm not mistaken, that is most concerned. And so he's been doing a lot of one-on-one with that. So we can ask what the status of it is, and if we can get that information earlier than the end of DD. But everybody knows what the concept is. Everybody knows what the money issue is. The question is what's happening. I get that.
Right.
We'll talk to GG and see what we can do. And again, this is something we're really not worried about, but focused on, so to
Well, it
speak.
adds up.
So
Yeah,
Well,
it adds up to a lot of
we're
money.
going to-
So
Yeah, they're going to be included as alternates, and I think I've talked briefly with Dave as to how we phase the HVAC and sequenced it and the logistics of it. They probably need a bit more information than what we have to tie that down, but we have been having those conversations.
In a perfect world, and I don't mean to push for anything that's too difficult, Janet, but if it was possible to get an updated draft set that has progress on MEPs before 100% DD, that might help us just in terms of the phasing with respect to mechanical only is a little concerning based on not having, rightly so, a ton of information at SD.
Okay.
Since we don't have a progress set prior to 100% DD, we're a little nervous about how the phasing of MEPs ties to the overall original phasing approach for the renovations. And we'd hope if we uncover a fatal flaw, I'd hate to have it happen at 100% DD estimate time.
Yeah. Okay.
With respect to the phasing.
Okay, I'll have Scott get in touch with Ben Miller and at GGD and see where their status is, what they have to offer, and even if it's very preliminary, it'll give you a frame of conference. I can't promise anything, but I'll definitely ask and push for it, because it is everybody's concern. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No. So I think the next building committee is the 10th of June.
Yep.
So I think if we'll show a lot of this stuff, we can boil it down a bit.
Right.
But
And-
I think we're in pretty good shape. I think we,
Shane, we have another advisory group meeting coming up, right?
I think in 2 weeks' time, we were gonna.
And Scott will not be here, so you will not see any fancy Revit moving around the model.
Okay.
So they don't even let me have Revit on my computer. So there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But Scott will, we'll be working to prepare what we need for that. What is this? What I can't remember.
So
I do know
think
what.
we're gonna look at the building exterior again.
Yeah.
And then the civil and landscaping, which is minimal, right? We don't have much.
Yeah.
in the way of
Yeah.
landscaping.
There's little. We've had a coordination meeting with PAR about civil stuff. So we had that one, I don't know, last week, I can't remember, but sometime in the recent past. And the landscape, the landscape is going to land where it lands when we're done
Right,
moving
I
the
think we
chess
got
pieces.
Couple of hundred square feet, yeah.
It's a waste. It's almost a waste of time, to spend a whole lot of time on landscape right now. They don't have a budget to do it because they really had a little bit at the beginning and then they don't have any work until
Okay.
CDs. So there's not going to be much on landscape, but civil, we'll get an update on the
So,
civil.
yeah, I think maybe, well, I'm not sure who it falls under, but the trash enclosure at the back.
Yeah.
Is sort of still a question out there. But,
Yeah, it is.
In terms of planting and trees and shrubs.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. There will be blades of grass wherever we can put them, and that's maybe 6 blades, maybe 8. I don't know. And then in the envelope, we'll have the wall sections that we were talking about, and the new wall, things like that for that elevation meeting. That'll be it. Okay, and there'll be flat elevations again. No tricky Revit modeling, unfortunately. So, but we'll have that. Okay, just wanted to check on that one.
Yep.
So that's the 16th. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
again,
then we'll look at phasing and logistics. I've been working with David on that, so we'll start to look at that. So I think that's if we can get anything from GGD, just hit the print button today with whatever they have might help Dave and his team.
Okay. All righty.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Anything
Okay.
else, Joe?
No.
Steve Scory?
All set.
All good?
We're all set, thanks.
Okay.
And we'll send a PDF of the PowerPoint over to Shane and for distribution, so you guys can take a look at things that towards the end. Our direction was everything that had a piece of built furniture or shelving. We tried to draw for you today so that there was you knew all that stuff. So we'll get that over to you so you can take a little longer of a look. Okay.
Great.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.